My name is Andy Grider, and this is Unique This Week, a production of uniquenessispower.com. Very excited today to have an amazing guest with us who's one of the more diverse individuals we've had on the show. Has some really cool things going on if you use data in your business or you want to use data in your business. He also has a fantastic podcast called That Sounds Terrific. And I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Nick Koziel today. Nick, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure and a distinct pleasure. And, if you go look at your LinkedIn page and you take a look and see all the things that you're up to and all the amazing stuff that you're doing, there's a lot there to encompass and to kind of understand. You've got a coaching practice. You work for the Center of Excellence in Data Sciences. Kind of want to start there
Sure.
and talk what is the Center of Excellence in Data Sciences to a normal lay person who has a business. What does that mean to them?
Well, it's a Center of Excellence in Data Science at the University of Rochester out here in New York. And what we do is we try to solve data challenges and data problems for our local businesses, but we also have like a international kind of flair as well through a specific program that we're doing where we can work with any business in any country of any size. But the main thing is we're trying to give our students the opportunity to learn how to react to data science in real time and solve real data science problems, and then also helping companies to solve issues that maybe they don't have the expertise for or access to the people that can help them. So it's kind of a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, it sounds pretty amazing, actually. So, can you walk us through what that would look like for let's just start with a local business,
Sure.
Rochester area or Buffalo area or somewhere in your western side of the state. What would they be looking for? Can you give us a case study example of what that might look like?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple programs where we have, and the big thing about the center, it is funded by New York State through a program that they have to increase the economic impact in New York. So the main focus is whatever we're doing, we want to be able to provide some sort of positive economic impact in New York. So if it's, solving a data challenge that maybe provides a new product that comes to market, maybe a new company comes to town, or they hire someone, or sometimes it's just the salary of the individual that, is doing the work. Every company, if they hire somebody like a consultant, they're spending money on that person. So what's going to help with our thing is students will do the work for you, and the center will actually pay the student.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
you said it earlier that it's a win-win, but that's really a win-win. That's
Yeah. So,
phenomenal. Absolutely
yes.
over the top.
Well,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah.
I
So,
love my job. I love being able to do this because, in my LinkedIn that you mentioned before, I got that little title called Human Puzzle Architect. And it really is connecting the dots and trying to find, a student that can work for a company or a company that has a data science problem, then I can connect them with a professional that be able to help them with that issue. So it gets tricky and it's like a tangled web sometimes, but you'd be amazed. There's sometimes I'm, interviewing someone for a podcast and all of a sudden they've got a great data science challenge that we can help them with.
well, exactly. I mean, and in Human Puzzle Architect, I think is one of the best titles I've ever read, because and it's something you do very, very well, both in your role with Rochester University of Rochester and in all the other things I've seen you do, whether that's TST and so That Sounds Terrific podcast, or whether that's helping coach folks and helping them figure out where they want to go next and how they want to, how they want to proceed with things. Um, let's get back to Rochester. You mentioned the
Sure.
international and the international flair.
Yeah.
How does that
So,
work?
well, that works when, I'm talking to a company, maybe they're a really large company because our internship program on the state side is about for 100 employees or less, right? And then there's a research-based program that we have where if you are working with a researcher anywhere in New York or your company anywhere in New York, we'll actually fund the research through a grant. But we have those companies that are not in New York, right? And we have students that really do want to have, some sort of experience in real world at some of these companies. So we have a program through the capstone course, which is a culminating course for our master's and undergrad students in data science, where they will tackle data science challenge for a semester long project. And it's a group of 4 to 5 students. It can be really in any part of the world, right? So we've worked with NASA, we've worked with a major airline, we've worked with Paychex, Wegmans, just to name a few, to solve some of the data challenges that they're, encountering. And what this does, again, is a win-win. The company gets a problem sort of solved or at least addressed, and the students get a chance to also get experience in real life data problems. And we're developing pipelines between these companies and University of Rochester, where they're going to hire some of our students to take over the work as professionals and employees.
Absolutely. Well, and again, like you said, I mean, the fact that this is so win-win-win is amazing. So when you are bringing in groups, it sounds like there's really no limit to who you can bring in, but who would be ideal for you?
There really is no limit, but the problem itself has to be pretty developed. It has to be able to be solved, within a semester time. So the time frame is the tricky part, because a lot of times we're looking like right now, we're getting close to the summer. We're in May. We're looking for fall 2023. So there are a lot of companies that need things solved right away. So we're not really moving at the speed of business in that regard. And then sometimes, like, we might think that the problem needs to be developed a little bit more, and we might push that into a further semester. So for some businesses, that might not be ideal. The best projects are really kind of the side burner or back burner projects that would be nice for companies to complete or figure out, but aren't critical to their success for that quarter, right? So that would be the real like caveat that you have to be aware of when dealing pretty much with any of our programs. The internship program in New York is only in the summer, right? And the research-based program, the tricky part is finding a faculty member with the expertise in that area. And on the other side of the things, if the faculty member is looking for a company, you got to find a company that's looking for that kind of help.
Right.
So that's where my job gets juggly, right? And juggling a lot of different contacts and connections and trying to figure out what's the best fit. But those side burner, back burner projects are really great because there are things that companies maybe didn't think they were going to get done, and then all of a sudden they do, and it produces another line of revenue or produces another opportunity to hire somebody. Or it just really is a fun thing that they were able to figure out and couldn't do before, and maybe automate with AI.
Yeah. So can you give any examples of some of the projects you've done or something that give a little bit of a highlight to get people's gears turning?
Sure. So we're working with a voice biometrics company, and this is on the research side. So we have a faculty member at U of R, and it doesn't have to be at U of R. It can be any New York State institution. So if you're working with Cornell, you can bring your Cornell professor in, or whatever. But this in particular case, they're trying to identify a variety of different things. But you know how in this day and age, we could make Andy Gregory say anything we want. We can just use AI to make your voice and say whatever we want. Well, they're trying to figure out how to spoof that, how to stop that from happening and identify if it is, AI or robot or something else other than the real person saying that. So that's one of the things they're doing. This professor has a great background in music. So he's using that and his data science to kind of identify those different things, those triggers that will allow us to see, is this AI or is this a real person? So that's just one of the projects.
I was going to say, and that's not at all what I would have expected. So I'm glad you actually went there. It gives some credence and thought process for all the folks that are listening in.
Yeah.
And so if somebody on that level, if somebody wants to contact you, is LinkedIn the best way to do that?
Yeah, or you can just email me at n.koziol@rochester.edu, and just tell me that you're looking to connect. I'm happy to meet with anyone. And give you another quick example, since data really is everywhere. We're working with another company that uses probes inside of cow stomachs to measure their temperature. And from that, they can determine when they're eating, when they're drinking, when they're sick, when they're, about to have a baby, all sorts of different things. And all of these cows are connected into the cloud, so the whole herd can be monitored, and you can see any outliers that might indicate there's an issue, or just the overall health of the entire herd. So really, data is everywhere.
Real data is everywhere, Nick. That's fantastic. to quote your podcast, that sounds terrific. I mean, it really does, and it's a way to leverage, as you said, non-time sensitive projects, stuff that you want to get done, but maybe you haven't gotten done yet. And I would encourage people to reach out to Nick. We want to shift gears here a little bit. We've got actually one other thing at least to cover. I want to talk a little bit about your podcast and let you change up your background.
Haha, there we go.
How did That Sounds Terrific come about, and what do you look for in your show?
So the way that it came about, it's kind of I'll try to shorten the story a little bit, but basically what happened was during the pandemic, I ended up losing my position. I needed something positive to work on. There was a lot going on that was negative, a lot of negative news, and I wanted to do something where I was able to interview people that were doing positive things in the community and highlight them, and also kind of get my name out there. So it was a little selfish in a way too. But I was listening to another podcast, and there was a comedian that was a host on that show, and he had a thing called "That Sounds Terrible." He didn't like to be in huge public situations, didn't like certain things. So anytime there was something in the podcast that came up, it's like, that sounds terrible. Well, I decided, you know what, I'm going to flip flop that and call it "That Sounds Terrific." And that's how my show's title came about, and that's really what the show's focus on. Is I'm looking for guests that are providing opportunities to impact their communities in a positive way. It could be for profit, it could be nonprofit, it could be just an individual, just a fun story or fun way of doing something. That's my kind of guest that I'm looking for.
Awesome. I was going to say, and it's a fantastic show for all of our listeners that are tuning into this. I highly recommend you add That Sounds Terrific to your list. Nick and I share some LinkedIn groups that we work in together, and gotten the opportunity to listen. He's not only a fantastic interviewer, but he brings on remarkably cool people, again, who are furthering things in their community. So Nick, I think you do a great job there. What have you learned the most out of the podcast? If somebody started a podcast, what do you think's the best piece for them? I mean, I know what I would say. I would love to hear your input.
I think I've learned that really, there are so many people that are doing like amazing things. And I find it hard to turn down an interview, right? When someone says, "Oh, cool podcast," what kind of guest is on there? So my audience is probably very eclectic because, there's a different subject each time. And I love that because it keeps things interesting for me too. And going back to like even some of the stuff we were talking about, the COE and my LinkedIn, the reason why I'm so eclectic is I love learning. So every day I'm like meeting new people and learning about what they do, and then trying to take little bits and pieces of it to kind of make myself better, help my family out more or help people around me more. So I think the greatest thing about podcasting is it gives you an opportunity to be able to speak your mind, hear their thoughts, and grow as a person.
Wow. There are so much of that I completely resonate with and really understand, because it's a lot of the same reasons that I got into podcasting. Was it's also to be able to lift the other people up in such a big way, because it's amazing what a single podcast interview sometimes can do. That one connection that's
Yeah.
out of it is amazing, and you and I are both learners and connectors, and it's a really good thing. So if somebody wanted to either make a recommendation of someone for your podcast or wanted to talk to you about the podcast, how would they best do that? What's the best way to get hold of you there?
I mean, basically, again, you mentioned LinkedIn, you can connect with me there, but even the website, thatsoundsterrific.com, there's a bunch of different ways you can communicate with me, email me. Like I said, it usually takes about 10-15 minutes to kind of do a quick intro to kind of figure out what you're all about and what you're doing, and how would you fit on the show, kind of a thing, and then we kind of go from there. But I always take suggestions, and I always like, you should be on the show too, Andy. I don't know why we haven't done that yet.
Well, it's probably because we're both very busy people, but that's okay.
It's true.
I would love to. Thank you.
Yeah,
That would be an absolute honor. It would be a lot of fun.
of course.
Yeah. So as far as it's concerned, I mean, this is one of those interviews where we hit a lot of different things during the interview. And if you're a company that is out there looking to have a data project done, looking to better understand the data you have, better collect data, better work with things, and that side of things, Nick has definitely got some really interesting programs running here. I don't think I've ever seen anything like what you have going on at University of Rochester. I'll end by asking this question, Nick. Is there anything else out there you're aware of that does what you do?
Well, it's all part of a number of centers of excellences and for innovative science and stuff. We have a bunch at U of R, but we also have them all throughout New York State. So you can search for them just by writing Center of Excellences in New York State, and it'll pop right up. But there's a number of different areas like nanotechnology, weather, business, all sorts of different things. And really, it just centers around New York State and their concentrations on these areas to try to provide the best opportunity for growth. So there are a bunch of us, and we do like to work together and refer between the centers, and there are some projects that are, sort of co-owned by the different centers as well. So we're not the only one. I can't say that, but we are the one in the data science realm.
So I was just in the dark, but that's okay. That happens.
Well, I don't think you're in New York, right? You're
No,
outside.
no, I'm in
So
Pennsylvania, but yeah, but still, I mean, at the same time, it's amazing what the university system has spawned there
yeah.
and built out. I'm glad you're a part of it because it's just going to make it all the better. Really want to thank you for being here today, Nick. I appreciate
Well,
you being a fantastic interview.
well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. My name's Andy Greider. This is another production of Unique This Week, where we go out and we try to find people that are doing things that are blue ocean, things that are doing things that are new, doing it maybe in a different way. This data center idea is something that is, to me, tremendously unique. And if you're not in New York, you probably don't know about it. If you are in New York, you might not even know about it. So take the time, reach out to Nick if there's something you can be done within New York or with their other program that has more of a reach. Make sure you reach out because this is and share the interview with folks you know who are in New York, because that's the other part that's beautiful about the show, about networking, is it's really easy to share these things and pass them around to the people that can really truly benefit. So again, Nick, thanks for being here, and we'll see everybody next week with another amazing guest. Thank you.
Thanks.